right, here we are. Oh my goodness, I am so excited. This is Sarah Chisholm. Sarah, it's wonderful to see you. We met 9 months ago at the Angel Aid Rare Mothers Resiliency Retreat, and you've become just an inspiration and a dear friend since then. So how are you today?
I am doing well. So glad to be talking to you. I can't believe it's been 9 months. Oh my goodness. Seems like yesterday, actually.
I know, right? It does. And we've had our text threads going, and we've been connected in the community.
Yes. And
Yes.
then so much has happened in between.
And so much. Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the reasons we wanted to have a conversation with you today is because we've got just a ton of rare moms, more each day. About 1 to 5 new moms a day are joining into our community, and we feel like there's nothing like another rare mom to share collective experience and perspective. And so that's why we're doing these conversations. These are just coffee talk conversations. It's super informal, but talk us through a typical, exactly, right? Talk us through a typical day for you. Give us some background on the world of Sarah.
Oh my goodness. I wish I could say it was typical, and I think most rare moms would appreciate the chuckle of saying typical. Um, However, I have 3 beautiful daughters. I have a almost 13-year-old, 11-year-old, and then my rare special daughter, Eva, who is now 7. And I think even prior to the COVID crisis, our home life was very frenetic. I would say the silver lining to COVID-19 is that it is not quite so frenetic because we're under one roof. However, it is still very chaotic, and we're very blessed in that we do have an in-home behavior analysis team that does still come to the home and provide Eva some therapy services. However, we're thinking homeschooling, at the same time doing telehealth, and then providing my daughter, Eva, who has an ultra rare condition, beta propeller protein associated neurodegeneration, in short BPAN. And she has a lot of complex educational medical needs. She's completely nonverbal, completely reliant upon, me and other caregivers for all our services. And she's very, very much routine based. So, you take her out of her normal environment, which was going to school every day. And when I say this was a new environment for her too, prior to COVID, we had just started her in this exceptional program that we had searched high and low for over 6 years. And then to pull her out of it, and then not having the ability to kind of let her know what was going on. So we've been trying to establish some kind of stability, a routine, breakfast routines, but you're a mom, trying to keep that sense of normalcy, provide my other kids the support that they need with virtual education, which none of us have ever done. And at the same time, trying to balance it with home and life and cleaning and many, mounds of laundry. It's been a challenge. I have to say, I hear a lot about don't complain. It's not bad if you're not sick. And I always say, it's all relative. Everyone has their individual, problems, but they're my problems and they're my obstacles. And I hate to ever diminish the challenges that any individual is going through, whether it's complex needs parents, rare disease parents, or, I think of my friend who has 3 kids, a 3, now 4-year-old who has zero idea what's going on, who can't understand that they can't see their friends, who doesn't understand why can't they, go out on their own, or, why can't they stay in the pool all day? Well, mommy and daddy actually have to work. They have a job and they're trying to do the best that they can. So our day, is breakfast, therapy, virtual health, telehealth. We do OT and PT online, and then trying to fit in very customized meals for my daughter, because we do try and provide her a very specific meal plan, very complex supplements, which thank goodness over this time we've been able to figure out a method for delivery that she is not fighting. And then just trying to engage my kids, so my other two kids, so they're not on the screen all the time. So it's challenging. I'm sure you can relate as
It
a
is.
mom.
It is. And I'm so, I have one daughter. I can't even imagine having three, and then also layering on some of the complexities that you talked about. Can you dig a little deeper on the telehealth? Because
Yes.
this seems to be a big topic. We're hearing a lot about it. So tell us about your experience.
Um, well, I guess there are two different areas. So there's the telehealth, which I would designate as being medical. So we had a bunch of appointments that we had set up. We should be actually flying to Philadelphia at this point, and we had to reschedule and then reschedule again. And we're not going to be able to. They're not opening up until they said earliest would be late July. And so having medical visits, especially with specialties like pulmonology, with the mitochondrial department, who has never, ever seen my daughter. And especially when you have very, very complex needs, and with specialists that really don't know much about my daughter's condition. And it's very difficult to develop, I guess, a rapport, to communicate what it is, my needs and concerns. And what it has really created is, I would say, a plus and a minus. It's created a lot of extra work in me having to provide a lot of documentation. But I think the flip side is it has allowed me to, say, for instance, gastroenterology. We had done some testing. Obviously, we could not go in to get the results. And so I was able to speak with the gastroenterologist. My daughter does not do well at doctor's appointments. She is not going to sit while I talk with a doctor for 20 minutes, if I'm lucky to get that doctor for 20 minutes. And so it allowed me to actually talk to the doctor while someone else was with her, engaged at the home. And, he saw her briefly, but I felt as though I had more of the doctor's attention. Whereas in a clinical practice, they have very, specific schedules. I think there are a lot of other distractions. So that would be the one benefit. Obviously, the negative is they're not physically touching, seeing, monitoring your child. So we have, I think, 7 appointments upcoming with the mitochondrial team at CHOP. So we have pulmonology, endocrinology, neurology, gastroenterology, genetics, feeding, and I can't remember a couple of other departments. I don't know how that's going to go, but I feel as though I just have to keep an open mind. I created this enormous sheet of questions, concerns, and areas of focus. I don't know if they're going to have a chance to review it. They have assured me that they would, but who knows? Yeah. And then for the other area that I would call more of like the teletherapy, I was actually kind of skeptical if it would work for my daughter, because she has a very severe visual impairment. And we recognized very early on that the virtual education was not working well for her. I mean, we're not going to strap her into a chair. She does not engage with like TVs. She never has. And the idea of having her sit in front of a screen was just appalling. But with the teletherapy, she has loved it. We do it 3 times a week with our OT and her PT. It has required a lot more hands-on from me and her therapy team. There have been some limitations with that also, though. It requires that I attend quite frequently, which I guess would be a plus in some ways, but it requires my time once again. And because of liability, our behavior analysts aren't equipped to do some of the more intensive, say, manipulations with my daughter. So I understand that. So there are the challenges, and then my daughter loves it though. She loves to see her therapist on the screen. And I think it provides me an opportunity to really get into the mechanics and the actual therapeutic interventions. So, and my kids have gotten involved too. My daughter, my oldest, loves it. She loves it a lot, actually. Yeah, it's sometimes a 3 or 4 person effort in providing my daughter services. So
Wow.
that's been fun.
That's an inspiring story because we're all reimagining the way that we receive and deliver services.
Mhm.
And one thing that we haven't touched on at all is, in addition to being Eva's mother and the matriarch of your family, you're also the leader of a nonprofit organization. So can you talk a bit about leading a whole community through this experience and what that's been like?
It has been, I gotta tell you, and I thought when we were first talking about doing this little chat, um, the direction of our conversation would be one way. And honestly, over the past week and a half, my direction has really shifted. Obviously, challenges in fundraising has been a huge thing among, I think, all rare disease communities. Focus in research, just because labs have been shut down. I know a lot of rare disease communities have had really catastrophic issues in moving research forward, or having research that they had started completely destroyed. That has not been our case. Thank God we didn't have anything that was in a research lab. However, I think it's that ongoing engagement with our patient community, given limited resources and given the influx of responsibilities in the household, and always that challenge of balancing home life with work life, and what is a passion driven endeavor for me. I mean, BPM Warriors is at my heart. However, I have to say, like, the shift for me in the past week and a half, and I'm getting goosebumps right now, is I've really come to an incredible place of recognizing, what I am working for or fighting for. I think over the past year and a half, 2 years, I was really wrapped up in fighting against. Like, I have been fighting against these institutional barriers and obstacles, and I'm going to fight against X, Y, or Z. And I kind of lost sight of what I was working for, fighting for. And it has really completely shifted my heart. And on a personal level, I just came to a point where I recognized how angry I was. And I know, like, that doesn't sound like a positive thing, but I had been carrying so much anger. And unfortunately, it was coming out sideways to my family. Like, I was short, everything was important. And don't you understand? And I could justify everything because, yes, the work is important, but if it's not serving my daughter and my family, then why am I doing the work? Why am I doing the work?
You've got me teared up right now. I'm just so I'm so touched by you being so open, Sarah, because these emotions that are flowing through all of us because of this experience.
Yeah.
And I know what a deep spiritual person you are, that you have this strong sense of wisdom in you, and so that self-awareness. I'm curious, did it did it did it come to you through a self-care tactic? Have you been doing something that you weren't doing before, like walking or meditating, or is it just the being home every day and kind of focusing internally on the family? Like what do you think helped with that epiphany?
I think, it came down to a couple of factors. I hate to say it, for me, like fear is a great motivator. I wish it were just positive attributions, like I want change for the positive, and so I'm going to walk in that direction. I wish that self awareness were just enough, like self knowledge. However, for me, I think it was a culmination of all these crossroads, and then amidst COVID and the stressors, and they are real, um, that I came to a watershed moment where I saw that it wasn't all the external. Yes, there's a lot of external, but there has always been a lot of external for me. It was recognizing that, yes, at a certain time, Crystal, I was a very um, spiritually seeking individual. Like I was always searching. And I saw that I was resting on my laurels. I was taking so much for granted. Like I think we had discussed, just breathing and my practice of yoga and meditation. And quite honestly, I haven't been doing much lately. Self care, spending time with my kids, watching a TV show, anything of that sort, reading a book, gardening. I just was not engaging in the things that brought me joy, just a little spark of joy. And I think because I've had all this time in home where I could not go out and do, I mean, I could do here and I am very busy, but there was less of those kind of distractions that the choice was like either I was going to implode or I was going to go deeper and go internally. And in a sense, I did implode. But I think for me, it was I needed to kind of fall apart in a sense or be cracked open. And, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. For me, it's always slowly, it's always a process. It's never like, oh, I get it, I'm going to self correct. But I think the word that kept on coming to me was pivot. I can pivot. I don't have to run away. I don't have to be super critical. I can just accept that that's where I was. I can accept that the whole world is living in fear today. Instead of judging it, I can recognize that I was in fear. I was in fear of, can I do what I set out to do? What are my limitations? Maybe I'm not capable. Maybe nothing will change. Ultimately, maybe what I'm doing will not save my daughter. Maybe I don't have that capacity. Those are big maybes, especially in rare disease. And I had to really come to the conclusion that all of those maybes are very true. At the same time, I know like I'm doing the best that I can, and I don't want to take for granted my life right now. And I am such an imperfect human being. I really am. But it's not that like self flagellation. And, I never recognized that the beauty of like my path in rare disease is I had assaulted rare disease with every single tactic. And I felt like I was on this hamster wheel spinning. And I just needed to find that space. I think we discussed it on the retreat. And our dear friend, EP Lee, had sent me a little text message on Mother's Day. And I had responded to her, stating that I'm still looking for that space.
Mm.
And I think recognition of my imperfect life and accepting it was like the first step. I just felt so unburdened. I just felt like this relief. And it's not a cure all or fix all. It just allowed me to be okay that I don't have to do it all. I don't have to convince anyone. I can do just the best that I can for my family and for my daughter. And I know that sounds like so pithy for anyone else, but for me, it's a huge shift. And since then, I hate to say like, oh, I made this big change, and then everything in my life, you know, clicked into place. But when I tell you green lights everywhere, things that have just out of the blue come out. We got one grant, and then out of the blue, we got our our SBA EIDL loan got approved. So we have money to continue operations. And then we had a researcher that I've been in conversation with for 2 years, come out of the blue and says he's been tracking us and he wants to do research. And then, we had Matthew Might, who I've been trying to get a hold of for 3 years, who has potentially identified a drug target. I mean, all in the last 2 weeks, Crystal.
Wow, that is inspiring. And so what I'm hearing from you is, okay, you mentioned the retreat. I took this time to invest in myself, to step away, to listen, be quiet, internalize, be loud, talk, connect. There was a range of emotions and experiences in that connection with our other rare moms, and coming back into your home life, and then having COVID hit, and then having this just awareness to release into what is happening.
Yeah.
It's you mentioned a watershed moment, right? And green lights, and it's sort of the unburdening is a theme that we hear a lot, that this feeling, okay, I see it. I don't have to carry it all on my shoulders. And whether I share it with another rare mom, or I share it with someone, that's supportive of me and the family, or a close friend, the point is I don't have to carry it all. And I don't have to carry all the outcomes as well, right?
Yeah.
So it's the intent.
The intent, and I think it's like, I thought to be strong, I had to resist that fear. And whatever we resist persists. And so that was what I was white knuckling it. I was resisting that idea that I couldn't, versus saying like, maybe I couldn't, accepting it. And also the notion of what I focus on is going to get bigger. So if I focus on the things that I know I'm capable of, focus on my household, focus on the things that I have the capacity to change, to do, instead of focusing on all the negatives and the obstacles. And let's be real, I'm not a Pollyanna, but I've always been a realistic optimist. But if I focus on all the obstacles and the negatives and the fighting against, that's where all my energy flows. And it just, I can't give that power away. And that was the space that I was allowing, that all the stuff was just occupying in my heart. And I've let it go. Not that it won't try and fight its way back, but I let it go. That's the space. And that I learned, as a direct result, I believe, from the retreat. That was a constant theme of finding that space. And took 9 months, Crystal. And I know it's going to be a work in progress, but it took 9 months. I told you I'm a slow learner, a very slow learner, but I knew it was an important idea. And I just, I hope that those moments of grace continue to happen. And that's where I say, like COVID, like, yes, it is awful. Yes, it has been earth shattering for a lot of people. I just have to say, like, I have to, within this little bubble of my universe, even within those situations, I have to find moments of where I can affect change, that I can attempt to walk in grace and find opportunities to practice um, new behaviors or practice acceptance. I don't have to always fight, because fighting is, I've always told it's really hard to go upstream. But if I go with the flow, it's a lot easier to go downstream. And I was really fighting upstream. And it's become a lot easier. And it's not to say that there aren't, obstacles down the pike, but at least that pressure, anxiety, that looming sense of I'm not good enough, it's not gonna happen in time. Um, it is not having that same kind of pressure on my heart. Just I don't know how else to describe it. Um, I'm just grateful for it. I don't need to understand it. I just need to be okay with it right now. So um,
Thank you. Thank you. So if you had an opportunity, we've covered so many different areas today, but if you had an opportunity to offer a perspective to another rare mom, what would you say to that woman?
I would say, for sure, our children are unique, but our circumstances, our situations, they're not unique. Our feelings are unique to, unto ourselves, but our collective experiences aren't. And never like diminish whatever feelings we're going through. I think, there's a great opportunity when I connect with another human being. It like the ability to talk one to one with someone else has such a healing impact. But I always, I share with other people, like, a burden shared is always lightened. And I think it's especially important, given COVID-19, is, yes, we could say problems are worse in other areas of the world, or someone else has it worse. However, I always say there can be room for improvement in every life situation. And there is no limit to compassion and the ability to give. And so don't rob yourself of that by thinking my problems aren't that big, or I'm supposed to be able to live up to this, or other moms are doing it. Just let it out. Like, whoever said, like, there was never a rule book or a handbook on parenting. So why would we think that there should be a how-to on rare disease? No. I think when I hear others share honestly from the heart, not just about, like, the joys, but the really hard nitty gritty stuff, it gives me permission to share from the heart and feel like, wow, I'm really not alone. And I don't have to, have this facade that when deep down, like, I'm frightened. I don't have to fight that fear. I can put light on that fear. And I've heard it say, like, it's very, very difficult for fear to grow in the light. And so it's like, let's put a big light on that fear.
That is beautiful. That is Sarah. That is Sarah Chisholm from BPAM Warriors sharing from the heart. I'm so grateful to you for taking the time today.
Thank you, Crystal. I love what you're doing, and I know you are going to have an incredible impact on so many moms out there, and I can't wait to see you again. And I can't wait for our next retreat. So
let's do a virtual hug. Virtual hug. Virtual hug to all of you out there. Thank you. Thank you again, Sarah.
Okay, love you.
Okay.